Hi, I'm Scott Milton with Ace Heli's Custom Canopies here for another Ace Points painting tip. I got some early feedback from people about some topics that they would like to see covered in these Ace Points painting tips. And one of the first ones was for you guys who would like to just do your own paint job at home and not have to go buy all of the automotive equipment that you would need to do the clear coating and final finish. I'm going to show you how you can do it with just simply the rattle can paints. This is what I'm going to start with. I've got a Rave 450 canopy here that I've already sanded down and prepped in my Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch white primer. Okay, this is what I use for all of my paints. In fact, most of my painting is done with these Rust-Oleum spray paints. The only thing different is that for the final clear, I use a high-grade automotive clear. It's a two-part mixture that is fuel resistant. So that's the one thing that I need to make clear in this video, is that this is strictly for an electric helicopter. Back when I started, electrics were not very popular, so I couldn't do very much in the electric world with just this setup. That's why I had to progress to the automotive clears to be able to do the fuel heli canopies. But today, electrics are so popular that you can get away with this. All you need to do is find a good clear out there. Then you don't have to use Rust-Oleum. There's plenty of other paint products, but you want to make sure that they are compatible together. That when you lay down the primer, that the paint you use is the same as a primer, so that it doesn't crinkle and mess up your paint there. So these products right here on the table are all that I'm going to use to create this paint job. And if you look over here on my computer, this is a canopy that I've done in the past. It's a Rave 450. And it's done with the same paints, but that has a regular automotive clear coat on it. It's a very nice thick clear, but there's not much difference between it and what we're going to use in the can. It's just simply that one is fuel proof. Okay? So the advantage of having a fuel proof as well is just when you're out at the field, you're around other helis, you have an accident, somebody spills their fuel or starts their gas helicopter right next to your electric and sprays the stuff all over it, you're not going to chance messing it up. But if you're careful, you can get away with these products, and it'll do plenty well. So I've got my 1/8 inch 3M tape and my other tape here. This is just from Walmart, painter's tape, 3/4 inch or 1 inch razor blade. And we're set to go. So I'm going to lay out the design on here, and then I'll show you step by step how we're going to paint it. As you can see, I have the canopy, the windshield taped off here. This is how I want it to look. And if you want to find out how I tape it off and cut the corners, all that, it should be fairly plain, using a razor blade to cut the overlaps. But I cover all of this in detail in one of my full-length videos. So all I've done is laid some tape in here on the edge of the windshield. I'm not going to worry about the overspray getting into the middle because I can just lightly sand this down later. So right now we're going to go and paint this the yellow and the orange. So let's go. Okay, the canopy is ready to paint. The first thing you want to do just before you paint, always inspect your area that you're going to paint again. Even though you may have wiped it off, blown it off, whatever. A little piece of lint lands on there, and then you start spraying, you don't see it, and it'll just totally ruin the paint. It'll cause some problems. So just before I paint, I look it over well, wipe it down, make sure there's no pieces of lint on it, especially in white, because it's going to show up like crazy. So then I'm going to put my mask on and spray the yellow. We're going to do a 3-color fade. I'm going to do a 3-color fade here. I'm going to use the yellow to spray down the edges like this, but I'm going to spray at an angle to where I leave the bottom white. So it'll be white and then yellow with an orange highlight at the top. Okay. See, I'm spraying the yellow, but the white is still showing down the bottom. And I'll spray a little bit this way to get the yellow here just a little bit. You see it kind of highlights. Okay, we're going to let that sit for just about a minute. Then we'll come back and put the orange on. We'll do another layer of yellow, and then we'll come back and put the orange on. And then pretty much that part will be finished. We have the yellow sprayed, 2 coats, so it's nice and good. As you can see, the white is left on the bottom. This is something unique to this particular canopy because of the way it's designed with the little hollowed out area here. You can do something like this. You won't necessarily be able to create this on any canopy you do. But that's the fun of painting, is you try to use the unique shape of each canopy to the best of your ability to create a nice design. So we're going to take the orange here and spray the top of the canopy and then some of the edges for visibility. Okay, now that would be it for this particular paint scheme that I want to do. But while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and show you, if you wanted to add a little more orange, you're one of those guys who really likes the orange and needs it for visibility, you can simply take the orange and continue on, add more orange here in the middle, and continue on up to the tip. Okay, just like that. And now you've added your inverted orientation when you're flying. So you can definitely tell the bottom and the top of the canopy a whole lot better. Okay? Now one other thing I just want to show you real quick, follow me over here. Another little secret, these cans, when they get cold, the spray is thicker. It doesn't atomize as well, and so it comes out and leaves a thicker spray on here, the overspray. But what I've got are some of these little candle warmers you can get at Walmart, and I'll take and turn these on, set my can on it, let the can warm up, and it'll atomize so it sprays better, and you'll get a much finer mist, more like an airbrush or a professional gun will do. So just a little trick of the trade to help you out there. So next, when we come back, we're going to do the windshield. Our paint is now dried on the little canopy. So the next thing I'm going to do is peel off the tape that I put around here. Now again, that's just because I didn't want the buildup of paint right around the edge here of the windshield. It makes it harder to sand down. So peel this off, and all I've got to do is sand the middle area here and just smooth it out. It doesn't have to be all gone because we're going to cover it up with paint anyhow. We just need to smooth it out. But now the one thing that's really important is when I did the orange, because you're not spraying a solid color on here, there's a lot of overspray. You can't really see it, but especially on the bottom, there's a lot of orange overspray that gets on the canopy. So before we tape this off to paint the windshield, we need to wash the canopy really good to get as much of that overspray off as we can. Or else when you lay down your tape or your masking to do the windshield, when you pull that masking back off, you'll remove some of the orange, and it can sometimes mess up your fade. So what we're going to do is go right out here, just follow me to my wash station. Just have a little table set up out here where I do my sanding and washing, at least when it's good weather. And so the first thing is just to wash it off. Just use your fingers and just make sure you rub every inch of it and get as much of the overspray off as you can. Okay, then I'm going to take my sandpaper and sand out this area here. All I'm trying to do is just get it smooth. Where you won't see the edge of it underneath the other paint. Alright, and we're ready to go and start doing the windshield. The canopy's now been taped up and we're ready to do the windshield. Now I'm going to give away one of my big trade secrets here. To create this beautiful blue metallic, what I'm actually doing is using a silver metallic as the base and then using this blue anodized color to go over the silver. This makes a beautiful blue metallic, and there's some other colors you can get. This is duplicolor, and they have a red, a green, and a purple. The blue and the red have really become the most popular colors with people for the windshields. So the first thing is simply to take and lay down the silver base coat, and it's going to take 2 or 3 coats to get it where we want it. So that's the first coat. We'll let that dry. I'm going to put another couple of coats on, and then we'll be ready to do the blue. The silver has now been sanded. We're ready to put the blue anodized color on. We're going to put 2 to 3 light coats on and build it up. And so I'm going to go ahead and spray this, and I'll do the other 2 coats, and then we'll go from there. The blue now completely done on the canopy. 3 coats. It's dried for about 10 or 15 minutes, sanded it down, and just so you know, whenever I'm sanding these things, I actually use 400 grit sandpaper. You can use 500, 600, anywhere up there, but 400 seems to do just fine for me. So the next thing now is to put the finishing touch on the windshield, is just to add the black ridge, the shadow kind of around the edge of the windshield, the fade. Much like this canopy here. You can see the black around it. Now, as a professional painter, I've migrated to the airbrush doing this, but I used to do the cans a long time ago. It's much more difficult to do, especially on the small ones, but it can be done. So what I've done is I've had this on my heater for a little while, heated it up to where it's atomized. Atomizes better when it sprays. And I'm simply going to spray the edge of this to where the edge of the fan of the spray just gets along the edge of the windshield. The hardest part to do is the curve here, so it might take a little time, but we'll see how it turns out. Okay, as you can see, that's pretty much it. Probably a little more black on there than I would like. If I was going to do it for a customer, I would go ahead and use my airbrush to get a little smaller, a little more uniform. But it's going to be plenty good when we put the clear coat on. It's really going to pop. So we're going to give this overnight to dry before I take the tape off and let the edges dry real well. Then we'll remove the tape and we'll be ready for the clear coat. We now have the canopy ready for its clear coat. I usually do 2 to 3 coats of clear, sanding in between each one. And the main reason for that is you don't want to get the canopy too heavy, but you want to make it as smooth as possible. And especially painting with Rust-Oleum paints, spray can paints, you're going to have a deeper edge here in these white lines around the windshield because of the thickness of the paint. It goes on thicker than your airbrush paints will go on. So we want it as smooth as possible. I have this Rust-Oleum clear coat. It is a gloss, and so we're going to take and do 2 light coats on here for the first coating, and then we'll sand that and do another coat. I'm just lightly misting it on. What I'm going to do is let that sit for a few minutes and let it get tacky, and then I'm going to come right back and I will finish layering it on, not a heavy coat, but where it is completely smooth and nice. And then we'll let that sit overnight, dry, and sand it down, and then re-clear it. We've let the canopy sit for about 10 minutes. The most important thing when you're clear coating is to make sure that you don't put too heavy a coat on, because with some of the paints you will get interaction, even if it's the same type of paint. If you put it on too heavy, then it can cause interaction and cause cracking. So that's one of the things I'm doing. I've actually, honestly, never used this clear coat before, but it is the same maker, the same brand as the paint that I used to paint this canopy, so it should not have a reaction. But the blue that I used was Duplicolor, so it could potentially have a reaction. That's why I want to spray a light thin coat first, let it sit for about 10 minutes, check it out, see how it's doing. Don't seem to see any reaction happening, so we're going to go ahead and put the rest of it on thicker. I'm spraying around the yellow and orange areas a little heavier and trying to keep it off of the windshield so that I don't get too much on the windshield right now. Okay, it's not perfect. It's not perfectly smooth like it should be. It looks a little orange peeled. That's just because I haven't layered it enough. We're going to let that dry just so that we don't have any chance of cracking. Come back and sand that, and then we'll do another coat, and then we'll do another coat after that. All right, well, we're here back in the hobby shop, and we have our final result. This is the this is 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum Gloss Clear, and to tell you the truth, I'm not very happy with the results. I'm not really sure why. Follow the instructions on the can, but the second coat turned out fairly foggy. It's okay, certainly would be a decent canopy on any helicopter, but it just doesn't have the beautiful gloss finish, you know, compared to, say, this canopy here, the automotive clear. But I know there's some better products out there that will do a better job, so what I'm going to do right now is actually sand this down, and I'm going to go search and see if I can find another product, and we're going to try that clear on here, and we'll see how that does. Okay guys, well here we have the completed canopy of our complete rattle can paint job. As requested, you guys wanted to see one being done with just rattle cans, and so that's what we've done. We have the Rave 450 done in a simple yellow and orange scheme with a blue windshield. As you saw previously, I had used this clear coat the first time, and admittedly, I'm not sure if I did it quite the way that I should have. I followed the instructions, but upon the second coat, it fogged. It didn't turn out really nice. So I decided I was going to go out and look for another clear coat, and I found this. Doesn't say clear coat on it. So it just says high luster coating. It's meant for furniture and that sort of things, for wood, metal, and more. So I went with the more part on this one, and hope that it would work. is Rust-Oleum, so same brand. So I sprayed a light coat on, let it sit for a little while, get tacky, and then sprayed a good heavy coat on there. And as you can see, it really looks great. Nice and glossy, a heavy, deep finish on it. More than likely, if you wanted, you could sand this down again, do another coat, give it even a little more depth to it. But it looks great as is. Put that on a helicopter, go and fly. So this was the final thing. These are the products used. There was nothing else done to it. So anybody can do it. You can do it. I'm Scott Milton with Ace Heli's Custom Canopies, and this has been an Ace Points painting tip video.